Hi, everybody, and welcome to 5 in 15, a webinar series for Charleston, Norway, from Charleston, Norway, where we promise to give you 5 useful, interesting, maybe even amusing bits of information that you can honestly use in your work in marketing and promotion across the food system. Agriculture, all the way out to entree on a plate. Today's topic, new food, emerging food, pretty interesting stuff. We're going to throw a lot of information at you today. Don't worry, we'll give you links as well as the Q&A after this. As always, I promise we will send you the information, but I will not bug you if you send me a question. I'm Mark Gale, CEO at Charleston Norway, a 100% employee-owned ESOP. That's really important because truly, when our clients benefit in marketing, strategic marketing, promotion, advertising, end of commercial, by the way, everybody here benefits. So they have extra reason to do brilliant work for you. You can see the email address there. If you have a question, send it in. I'll get back to you. Sometimes people want to bring up stuff they don't want to bring in the public forum. You'll notice a chat pane in the window. Use that to send questions to my colleague Susan here. At the end, we'll take a few minutes to answer them. Those that we can't get to, again, I'll promise to send you. The first 3 who send in, we're going to send you some delicious chocolates from Sweet Peas over in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, neighboring city here. You're going to love those. So ask some questions about new and emerging food, and we'll give you some traditional delicious food. First, what are we talking about? Synthetic food. It's synthesized literally from something else. Commonly now, microbes, maybe like yeast, that brew the proteins that can mimic food that's created traditionally or naturally in a different way. Now, I know somebody's going to write in and say it's natural. Got it. Cultured cells making more cells. If you have any doubt that this is a real thing, SoftBank, big investment in Memphis Meets just recently, Memphis Meets being one of the leaders in the space. There's big money, hundreds of millions of dollars put into this. These products, some of them are going to become very real. Meanwhile, there's some question about what they should even be called. Frankly, this is a redo of this webinar because there was so much interest, and I got some pushback from one of the groups of the Alliance for Meat, Poultry, and Seafood Innovation and on what to call it, saying it should be cultured. Some of those same companies belong to the Cellular Agriculture Society, however. That will settle out when one of these products, in the cellular realm, there is not a product on the market. In the plant-based proteins, there are many. So some of that will be settled out. The research. We work with our colleague, Maeve Webster at Menu Matters to make sure it's legitimate research, confidential consumer, independent survey engine, about half men, half women, distributed across the United States. The first fact I want to share with you, and it's not one of the 5, is this is just coming onto America's radar. Those of us who work in this space, we're getting newsletters, we're reading about it all the time. We think it's common. It's really not. Your neighbors don't know much about it. Last November, about 42% of Americans knew about Impossible and Beyond. That's, I'm sure, greater now and growing. But when we get into cellular agriculture, the fact that there are these synthetic products out there, very few people know about them. Great opportunity. If you have a product that's traditional, how can you defend and have it really well positioned? If you're introducing one of these products, it's kind of open space for you to set up however you want it to be. The things we're going to talk about today. Americans are skeptical. Age divide. It's food. Health is a big worry. There are other drivers, and the rise of the Flexitarian. Not so fast, America says. What are your feelings about this category? Seems scary. Need to understand more. Want to understand exactly how they're made. I want the ingredients to be completely and transparent. This is food after all. We're eating it multiple times a day. Throw something new at us, we're a little bit worried. That's what America says. When we look at, do you think this is going to have a place within the food industry, however? Look at the right side of this pie chart. Absolutely, probably. maybe, but not sure. That's more than 50%. So people are thinking, there's probably something going to happen here. Age divide. This is a scary looking chart. Don't worry. Look far to the left and look at the first 3 bars on the left. That's 65 and older. There's a little gap. That's 18 to 24. Whether we look at synthetic wine, the vegan milk, always, and we're seeing this in other surveys, younger audience more predisposed to try. Now you can say that's because they're younger and more flexible. Probably true. Beyond that, we know that the younger audiences are also more driven by concerns beyond the traditional ones for food. They want to know about sustainability, environmental impact, animal welfare, global warming even, they tell us. So there's a divide here, something to consider in your marketing. I threw in this slide from a different study because we've seen this age divide many times. A survey last year on clean label phenomenon, 35 and under, almost half are saying it's a driver. Go up over 55, only 30% say it's a driver. There is one fact, however, that unifies Americans: health. No matter what your age, long-term health benefits, I'm worried it won't be healthy. Environment comes in there. We'll see more about that in a moment. No longer natural and extremely or completely processed. Again, I would argue those are related to health. It's food. Rather than talking about the technology, we need to talk about the food value if you want to market one of these products. Men right now, if we go to the Plant-Based Impossible or beyond, men a little bit more likely right now, and it's skewed, I can tell you, a little bit by age, to try those products. What are some of the big picture drivers? What does America think? Well, first of all, what the companies are saying, whether it's the association or Perfect Day. I think Perfect Day is really a fascinating company, by the way. It's the one that's synthesizing milk proteins. Suffice it to say, they're talking environmental, long-term, big picture, global concerns. I switch over to Finless, a leader in cells of fish, making more cells of fish, what they're adamantly calling cultured now. Same kind of big picture drivers. And then we can see that reflected in what Americans are thinking. These products could help feed the world. If we start to ask, what about the benefits? Help feed the world. Doesn't harm animals, energy, hunger, global warming, issues that start to come up. So even though skeptical, Americans are saying these are some of the benefits that such products could have. Pretty interesting stuff. But don't worry, if you have maybe we'd call it a traditional, conventional product, they're not all going to disappear. On the upper left, you can see, I'll eat it once. We're talking about Impossible or Beyond burgers here. Mostly stick to beef. Some switch back and forth, 31% on the lower left. I plan to eliminate beef, that's 70%. I was curious, but we'll never try it again, 22%. So really what we're seeing on the left side of this pie is that I'm not gonna give up beef. I'm gonna have a tenderloin on my birthday, but I am okay to mix this into my diet. I might do it because I walk through the DC airport and that grain bowl place looks pretty good. I might do it because I'm thinking about the environment, but I'm not gonna abandon traditional foods. It's the rise of the Flexitarian, our last point. Here's an article from Ad Age. Our friend Rachel Cheatham over at Foodscapes sees this as a global phenomenon for the last several years. So it's not about vegan anymore or vegetarian versus carnivore. It's about flexitarian and meeting what those people want for a whole bunch of reasons: more affluence, greater awareness of food around the world. How about some insights? What are we to think of all this? And again, I'm going to send you this and more information so you'll get it and you'll have time to think about it. Well, proof of concept. I wanted to send you Perfect Day ice cream instead of candy, but couldn't because it's sold out. Meat's not going away. Because of the increased population, affluence in the world, meat consumption will continue to rise, but so will this. and brace yourself for some really kind of bizarre products. I've been watching this company out of Finland. It's not quite as simple as make from air, but they're synthesizing protein and working on developing products from water, air, electricity. Crazy stuff. There's going to be more of it for sure. What are we to do? First of all, these things are here to stay. Second, they will disrupt. They're not going to displace, but maybe you should be looking at strengthening your brand in relation to them. Or if you're introducing one, how can you position your brand to have a place? And that comes to let's embrace and adapt. I'm not going to go over these again because I want to get to some of your questions, which Susan is furiously writing, and she's handing me the first one. Will consumers accept cell-based meat? Is there a better word for them? Well, thank you, Kristen. I had a good bit of banter with a couple of the cellular companies after the first webinar. They're adamant about cultured, some of them. Some of them are talking about cellular agriculture. Well, first of all, there's no product. There is not a product commercially available anywhere on earth in this category. When there is one, if that company is a leader and establishes the brand, they can probably begin to establish what it should be called. Right now, that's a big unknown. You constantly see stories, though, using lab grown in major publications, universities and such, which the industry, I can tell you from firsthand experience, is not in love with. How will the price points of new products impact consumer interest? Is a price decision a driver? Price with food, we know, is a driver in order to get to the majority. We know that for a fact. Right now, it seems early on, people who are interested in these other impacts, such as environment, energy, and whatnot, are willing to pay a premium price. As soon as the Beyond Burger came out in the grocery store, I was visiting family in Austin. I went and bought and was like, wow, this is a really expensive product to have a barbecue with the family over the Beyond Burger. And I would suggest you try these so you know what's happening with them. But yeah, price eventually, as this settles out, will become one. I had an Impossible Burger at Burger King last week. It's about the same price. It's actually a little bit more expensive than the conventional Whopper. It's going to have an impact and it'll settle out. You know, when the aura wears off and when production spools up, price may be less of a factor. We know Americans, however, are fickle and often buy on price. Can you talk a little bit more about the differences between older and younger consumers? Yes, it really comes down to those drivers of sustainability, animal welfare, carbon footprint, global warming. Over and over on this and other studies we've done, those issues come up as dividing by age. Why do we see resistance to GMO and genetically modified crops in essence here, when not so much for lab grown or synthetic? Well, first of all, there's a lot of skepticism here. GMO and genetically engineered really got mixed up early on. I think, well, let me rephrase that. We can take a lesson, the industry can take a lesson. There was an assumed acceptance of those technologies, and that was wrong. Consumers said no. Although recently, just last week, I saw a study on how labeling in some states that is acknowledging genetically modified hasn't really hurt some product sales. So that's an evolution that's happening right now. Can I get the links and sources from this webinar? Yes, you can. We're going to send them out, Susan, maybe later today if we can get the questions together. Are people afraid because they don't know these foods, how these foods are made, or just because these products are new? Probably some of both. But the other side of that is, especially in the cellular area, it seems, when you see pictures of lab, when you look at beakers and scientists in white coats, which frankly I see from the companies promoting these for their trial products, our radar kind of goes up. I mean, you're kind of taking them back to high school chemistry lab and saying, hey, be cautious. Maybe you shouldn't drink out of that beaker. So these industries need to not assume. Don't assume if you're in this industry that automatically consumers are going to beat a path to your door. My best advice is reach out to the consumer, see what's in the brain of the consumer, and meet the consumer where the consumer is if you want to market these products. And by the way, at Charleston Norwig, we'll be happy to help you do that. I'm Mark Gale. That's all we have time for. We're just a few minutes over. Thanks for sticking with us today. Charleston Norwig, we're going to have another webinar in probably about another 6 weeks or so. If you're on the list, we will send you an invite so you know. Meanwhile, we're going to share all of this information with you. I hope you find it useful and interesting. Our mantra for this in our newsletter is be useful. I hope we were useful for you today. Until next time, thanks so much for joining us.